So much has happened since I last came on here. So I want to talk to you guys, catch y'all up, and have a little sip and yap, if we will. How have y'all been? For everybody who is not caught up, make sure you guys follow my Instagram, Case Said It, and watch the previous videos so that you can understand what's going on here, part 3, and then I'm gonna answer certain questions. All right, so y'all wanna know who called the mayor. And I'm gonna tell y'all how I found out who called the mayor. And then y'all tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong. So basically, long story short, while we were at the grand opening at that point was over with, or it was wrapping up. And I kept seeing my mom walk back and forth to my neighbor. So I'm like, you know, is she okay? Like, what's going on? What's going on? So I saw that they were shopping with one of the vendors, which is my little sister. So I was like, oh, that's so cool. That's so dope. So I went over there and I was like, hey, y'all, you know, told them what was going on, kind of filled them in on everything. It was just like, wow, that's crazy, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, yeah, I said, we still have some more back to school items in the back. Y'all come over and get some back to school items. I was telling the girl's client, like, y'all just come and get some back to school items. So they came over there and they seen the back to school items that we had left over. So I was just like, you know, y'all take what y'all need for y'all's kids. So some of them had multiple kids. Some of them wanted to give it to their sister kids, whatever the case might be. So they came over there, they just did their thing. So I went back to the front and I was just talking to my friends, decompressing, like, okay, y'all, this was insane. I cannot believe what's transpired, but I'm glad everything's over with. I just want to go to sleep. So they was like, well, we finna go out to eat. We finna celebrate. So let's find out where we want to eat at. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's find out where we're going to eat at. So we sitting there talking or whatever the case might be. So as we sitting there talking, she came over to me and I said, hey, my neighbor, she came over to me. She said, hey, I said, I really need a letter just defending my character a little bit. Like, you know, I'm your neighbor, you know, you're your client, y'all came over here, this, that, and the other. I would like for you to write a letter for your point of view of what happened here today. So she was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna write you a letter. I said, okay, if you can email it to me. Cool. So she said, I got you, you know, this is crazy. You know, I'm sorry this happened like this. So then this girl came over and she was like, hey, I have some Yoni steams and Yoni products and shea butters and stuff like that. I would love to gift it to you for giving back to us. You know, I really appreciate you. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, I really appreciated all the love I was getting. A lot of people had no idea what was all going on. They had no idea the police was called. They had no idea the mayor was called. They had no idea they was all even there. Some people were aware if you were like a part of like my inner circle, like my close friends, my family and stuff, they kind of knew what was going on. But as far as like the people who were visiting and stuff, like they really didn't know all the stuff that was going on at all. So, and I wanted to keep it like that. Like I told y'all, I wanted to keep it like that. So time goes on and I go to the very next day, I go to the court. After I leave court, I go pick up my child from Rose, not court, I'm sorry, back that up. After I leave the office or whatever from the code enforcement and everything else like that, I went to go pick my child up. After I went to pick my child up, I ended up going up to the event center and the shops to look to see like what all needed to be cleaned up and things like that. And I see my neighbor was there. So at that point, I had read the letter that she had emailed me. And I was literally baffled because I was like, that was so sweet. Like, that was just the sweetest thing. So I went over there and I just gave her a hug and I said, I'm so thankful that, you know, you wrote this. You know, I didn't have to use it. But I'm so thankful that you wrote this. This was so beautiful. So beautifully written, you guys. So as I'm talking to her, whatever the case might be, I noticed my fan, my K's Boutique fan, sitting on her station. So let's go back. That morning, I called Shanice and I called Pinky and I said, hey, y'all. I said, I need to know where my fans are. Because from what I remember, I don't remember seeing anybody pack my fans up. And I remember running after the DJ, seeing where my fan was that he had that we let him borrow. So I said, I need to make sure all my inventory is like accounted for. So they was like, no, it's in the back. It's in the back. So I went back to the back when I finally got there. And that's when I seen that my fans was gone. My fans were missing. But I seen the fan on her station. So I was like, where you get that from? And so she was like, oh, I got it from the thing. I was like, oh, that was for sale. That wasn't, whatchamacallit. She was like, oh, for real? And I was like, yeah. So as I'm talking to her, I look up at her fire extinguisher. And I remembered instantly how she told me how she had connections to the mayor. So as me and her are talking, I'm telling her everything that's going on, everything that happened, the fees, the extra stuff. And she's like, oh, you know, so like what was going, like, you know, tell me more about like the party or whatever. So I was telling her everything. She was like, oh, she was like, so you're not partners with the girl down at the end? I said, what you mean? What girl down at the end? She said, the girl all the way at the end. You're not partners with her? And I said, no, I don't know her. I said, I just met her the same day I met you. I said, I got the one next to her. She said, oh, my bad. I didn't know. I said, what you mean? She said, girl, me and that girl, we've been having issues, blah, 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 boom, boom, boom. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah. So I thought that, you know, y'all was with her. She kept referencing stuff like y'all. So I'm like, you know, who is she talking about? She kept saying stuff like, you know, y'all always be leaving a mess and y'all always this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you know, that was my first event. So when she said, girl, me and her been having so many problems, so many issues. She got a bad attitude. I thought you was with her. My bad. She was like, you can have the fan back if you, I said, no, you can keep it. You can keep it. Just, you know, always remember me, you know, when you need to cool yourself off. It says Case Boutique on there, everything else like that. And then I was like, you called the mayor. Yeah. It didn't take long for me to put two and two together. You already got connections to the mayor. You won't tell me what your connections are. When the mayor was there, she said she had got a phone call to come up there. And then the lady was telling me, okay, so as I was telling her, you know, everything that was going on in back to school, et cetera, right? She also told me that she was also hesitant about writing my letter because she didn't want to have nothing to do with what was attached with the girl. I said, nah. I said, she was here before me. She said, I'm sorry. I just know that when you said that you had a space at the end too, that was y'all and that you had just got the space next door to me. So the other girl in the shop, she kind of like looking weird, like her eyes like. So it was a very awkward moment. It was a very awkward moment. I said, okay, well, she never admitted to it. So I don't want to just be like pointing fingers. But if you know the mayor said she got a phone call. And she told me the reason why she was like kind of thinking the event was a lot was because one of my vendors used her flower pot to place in the corner to show their business name. And she had to let them know they couldn't do that. And I said, thank you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just like, she didn't mean no harm to me directly. She didn't mean no harm to me directly. We're going to give her a little, we're going to move on. So I went to court. The officer, nobody was present. I talked to the solicitor. I told the solicitor everything that happened or whatever the case might be. She told me what I needed to do. She told me that I do have to pay a fine, another fine. And your girl is guilty of throwing a back to school event for the community and opening with purse pieces. That's the only thing I'm guilty of. But to be honest with y'all, this whole process has been mentally draining. I know everybody's been asking me like, why haven't you made no videos and stuff like that? But there's been so much going on with trying to get to the bottom of this and deal with this accurately, not just on social media, but this is actually my real life. These are my real businesses. This is like where I pay my rent to every month. So it's like I can't always function everywhere at one time. So when I do try to give y'all my time, please appreciate it, because your girl ain't got no time. Anyway, I'm not gonna hold y'all too long. I have so much more stuff that I want to talk to y'all about. I'll have day in the life videos, I vlog, and everything else like that. So I really do want you guys to see stuff like that too. So don't forget to press subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment what you think. Do you think she called the mayor? Do y'all think she called the mayor? I mean, y'all tell me. Anyway, y'all, I will talk to you guys soon. I'm out. All right, y'all. So this is actually part 2 to part 3 of the parts of all the grand opening stuff. So we back at the event spaces and the salon suites, and I'm here with my girl Shanice. Hey. This is my girl who do all my decorative stuff, my balloons, my banners, my everything. So basically, this is my first time. I was telling Shanice, this is my first time being back up here, and everything is literally exactly like everything is literally exactly the way we left it. And it's really because I couldn't face my own spaces no more. Like, I was depressed coming back up here, reminiscing about everything. I've always been a person who, like, literally holds on to things. Like, whether it's good, whether it's bad, I hold on to it. Like, I cherish memories. I cherish moments. So, when I walked into here, every time I would even face these spaces, I kind of got depressed a little bit. Because I'm like, dang, last time I was here, the whole moment or ordeal that we all had been building up and waiting on, it had really shattered right before my eyes. And I was really one of the only people, as well as the people who were like over things with me. We were the only ones who really knew what was going on. Everybody else only knew from us explaining things later on. So now that I'm up here and we're like seeing through and we facing everything, like we just have so many like laughing moments and like, dang, this really was a thing that really happened. We never came back to clean up. We just said really forget it. And yeah, we just finna get all this stuff redone and get it right. We finna just get it right. Start it over. We're gonna call this the fresh start with the right people, with the right mindsets. And you can't hate from outside of the club if you can't get in. That's right, man.